Hey everybody, we're back here at Red Rocks Racing Sportsbook for the Sports Betting Podcast Bookends, powered by STN Sports as always. He's Jason, I'm Chucky. First we're going to talk a little World Series. 7-game World Series, which was a lot of fun. No question that our guests and our bettors were backing the Dodgers. I mean, the crowd, the atmosphere, the noise when they came back in that game was electric. But the fact that it went 7 games was kind of good for us. You had the Jays win 3 games, and Game 7 was okay because they only won by 1 run. But overall, really entertaining World Series. I think if you're the Jays, you're kicking yourself for not winning this one.
Yeah, and we said before the series started this was going to be hard for the Jays to overcome this. We were hoping to see, maybe 5, 6, or 7 games. That starting staff for the Dodgers, made this look like it was something that was unattainable for the Jays. And to our surprise, it wasn't. They played absolutely fantastic. Ran into Yamamoto and what he did in Game 6, and then out of the bullpen in Game 7, absolutely unbelievable. Obviously, you can turn back the clock and look at the incredible play on defense from Pajes in the outfield. The play at second base to get Connor Falefa at the plate. Maybe his
just
lead,
a little bit,
maybe his
little
lead
bit larger
wasn't big enough, but big home runs by Muncy. Obviously the game-tying home run, and then the Will Smith home run. Absolutely electric Game 7. And incredible job by the Blue Jays to stay with it. But I still go back to that in the NHL. It's awesome when we hit the playoffs. There's a salary cap, and anybody can win this thing. We look at the NFL. There's a salary cap, and a bunch of teams can win this thing. And the NBA, there's a salary cap. Again, there's a grace period to that salary cap, but a little bit more wide open. Major League Baseball, the Dodgers were a $350 million team. The Blue Jays, with all due respect, were a $255 million team at the upper echelon of that. But the average Major League Baseball team spends about $175 million. Some of them are closer to that $100 million threshold. But when the average spend is $175 million and the Dodgers are at $350 million, you sure as heck better be taking home a championship banner when you're going to spend that much money.
Yep.
So, we're going to see what happens as these agreements come down. We might have a lockout or a strike in Major League Baseball, but something has to be fixed to find a little bit more competitive balance. And not to say there wasn't competitive balance during the World Series and these playoffs, but we're talking about 8 to 10 teams that can play in Major League Baseball and another 20 teams that have no chance of taking home these coveted rings. So congratulations to the Dodgers, incredible series, but let's get something fixed to give all these teams a better chance of winning
I think with that said, you head into the offseason this year, you've got Tucker, you've got Pete Alonso, you've got some big-name guys that are Cody Bellinger, Bregman, just to name a few. You've got some big-name guys that how competitive can some of these teams be? Schwarber,
they're only going
where
to
are they going to go?
Of 1 to 6 teams.
Yep.
That can
and
afford
that
to
really
pay.
hurts, and that's why I think, to your point, you need to look at the collective bargaining agreement, and something needs to change over the next year or so, because you can't have just 6 teams who have a chance to win it.
Yeah, but put it in perspective. Put this in perspective. Major League Baseball, you have a 26-man roster. Obviously, there's a bunch of guys that you have to pay. The Dodgers spent $350 million. In the NFL, the salary cap is $279,200. $279 cap in the NFL. $350 is what the Dodgers spent on 26-man roster. There's 53 players on an NFL team, and the cap is lower than what the Dodgers spent for half the amount of players. So something's got to change there to fix the competitive balance of these teams.
Yeah, I think we're both in agreement with that. We're going to jump over now to college football. I think you look at last week, and it was an entertaining slate of games. I think you had the Georgia game, which was so exciting and looked like they were going to cover, and somebody slid down and took a knee at the 1. So it was a great game, very entertaining game, but also a bad beat for anybody who had bet against Georgia in that game.
Yeah, Georgia had the ball at the 5-yard line, up 24-20, 7-point favorite in the game. Had a walk-in touchdown, decided to take a knee at the 2-yard line, run the clock out. Not only does Georgia not cover, the game doesn't go over, so a really bad beat there. We also saw some kind of knockouts in the ACC. SMU knocked out number 10 Miami with a 26-20 victory. NC State takes down Georgia Tech 48-36. So 2 of those top hopeful teams at the ACC of hoping to make the college football playoff get knocked out. And one of the big surprises for me, we saw number 18 Oklahoma go on the road to number 13 Tennessee, able to knock off Tennessee. Oklahoma with a nice bounce back, get themselves back in the playoff conversation. And obviously the playoff rankings came out this week, so all these college football teams, they know where they sit, they know what they have to do over these next kind of 4 weeks of the regular season to determine can they get themselves into the playoff, can they get themselves to be in this playoff, and let's jump right into it.
Well, really quick though, I want to talk about, some of the games from last week too. Texas beating Vandy by only 3. The fact that they got outscored 21-0, Jay, in the fourth quarter, which became a positive outcome for us. Duke coming back in that game against Clemson after trailing in the second half, and then UNLV, actually in that game, New Mexico holding on 40-35 and winning that game. So there were some
we had
really
talked about
interesting
the
games last week
sneakiness of New Mexico
that made it really close at the end.
And the lack of defense for the Rebels has really come back to haunt them. And again, you see that again in this week's line against a poor Colorado State team ranked 2 and 6, and the Rebels are just a small favorite on the road. But that defense has just been so very leaky, struggling to get them these wins.
All right, let's jump right into this week. Some of the bigger games, the key games we're going to focus on this week. Number 8 BYU at number 9 Texas Tech. BYU 8-0. Texas Tech comes in 8-1. Texas Tech opened up a 10-point favorite in this game. 10.5-point favorite. Now a 10-point favorite. Some betting trends here. BYU 7-2 against the number their last 9 games. They're 10-0 straight up going back to last year. Their last 10 games. They're 7-0 straight up their last 7 games against an opponent from the Big 12 Conference. Texas Tech 8-1 against the number their last 9 games. Texas Tech 6-0 against the number their last 6 games at home. They're double-digit favorites here against Brigham Young.
Yeah, and I think when you look at this game, you ask yourself, number 7 BYU, number 8 Texas Tech. We have a 10 and the number 17
favorite,
ranked in the country is a 10 to 10.5-point favorite at Texas Tech. And similarly enough, we saw the same situation last week where number 17 Cincinnati was traveling to number 23 Utah, and Utah blew their doors off. And one of the other similarities to that last week was that College Game Day will be making an appearance in Lubbock, Texas, at Texas Tech. The Texas Tech Red Raider fans are already camped out. They were camped out on Monday to get into the College Game Day. And I wanted to throw this out there because I started to think about this whole College Game Day thing. College Game Day now traveling to Texas Tech. College Game Day was at Utah the week before. We saw Utah, the big win over Cincinnati. The week before that, College Game Day was at Vanderbilt. We saw Vanderbilt get the big win over Missouri. The week before that, College Game Day was at Georgia. We saw them get the big win over Ole Miss. So you're
saying if College Game Day goes out,
the question of how many wins does a team get when College Game Day is there? And lo and behold, the College Game Day team against the point spread is 8-2 against the point spread this year. And Oregon has messed it up twice. Oregon went to Penn State and won on College Game Day and beat Penn State, and then College Game Day went to Oregon, and Oregon lost to Indiana. So outside of Oregon, every other team, when College Game Day has come to their home, they've been able to win, with the exception of Tennessee, who was a 3.5-point underdog to Georgia and lost by 3 in overtime. So that was the only non-straight-up win, but they did cover in that game. So maybe something to be said there for College Game Day and doing an incredible job for the home team. And you talked about it. Texas Tech's been absolutely dominant at home, crushing teams at home. I won't go through the list. Their only loss is on the road at Arizona State. Again, a very comparable team. But again, Texas Tech, very, very good. BYU, they've had some close games here. A big win last week at Iowa State, 21-27. They had a 3-point win at Utah, one of their biggest games of the season. They won by 6 on the road at Arizona, 14 at home against West Virginia, and they won by 3 at Colorado. So when you look at BYU, again, going on the road, we'll talk about the Utah game, which is a trip down the street, but haven't really had a tough test on the road. So now to travel to Lubbock, travel to College Game Day, be undefeated, be number 7th ranked in the country. That Texas Tech Red Raider team,
they're going to be waiting.
They're going to be. And again, same situation last week. Tennessee travels to Utah. They're the higher ranked team. They're getting all these points. Cincinnati. Yeah. And you feel like, man, I got to take these points. Beware of taking the big points. The handicappers, the bookmakers are telling you this is not a good spot for the BYU Cougars.
The number has come down, though, from 10.5 to 10, so we'll see where it ultimately ends up on Saturday. Another game to look at here, another big game, is number 3, Texas A&M at number 19, Missouri. A&M on the road opened up a 6-point favorite. They're now a 7-point favorite. The total here has dropped, though, from 49.5 to 47.5. A&M, similar to BYU, comes in undefeated. Missouri is 5-3 as we go into this game. And look at some interesting betting trends on this one as well, Jay. A&M 4-9 though against the number their last 13 games. They've gone over the total 7 of their last 9 games. They're 8-0 straight up their last 8 games. And Missouri though is 9-3-1 against the number their last 13 games. So just some kind of trends to look at. A&M has also gone over 9 straight road games. So look at the total in this game, yet it has come down a full 2 points.
Yeah, you talk about specifically those road games. At LSU, 49-25. At Arkansas, 45-42. We know they played Notre Dame in a 41-40. So they've been able to play a high-scoring game. They've also had some low-scoring games that they've been able to win. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. A&M has just found a way to continue to get it done. That's why they find themselves the number 3 team in the country. The one thing for me on A&M is maybe they didn't want the bye week. They were on a roll, 8 wins in a row, number 3 in the country. Marcel Reed has been playing fantastic at the quarterback position. They got their bye week, and now they're going to travel to Missouri. The good thing from an A&M standpoint is they absolutely destroyed this Missouri team. Missouri was ranked number 9 in the country when these teams played last year, and A&M knocked them off 41-10. 268 yards on the ground, and they held Missouri to only 68
Missouri gets
yards.
a chance to pay back. They're at home here.
68 yards rushing. But caution you on Missouri. Missouri started the year off 5-0, all home games 5-0 against real kind of cupcakes. Central Arkansas, Kansas, Lafayette, UMass, South Carolina. So maybe South Carolina and Kansas, tougher games, 5-0. Since then, they then had a home game, their 6th home game in a row, to Alabama, where they lost by 3, 27-24. They then went on the road, beat Auburn by 6, went on the road last week, and lost to Vandy by 7. Played those games, tough games, but they did that with quarterback Bo Prabilia. He is not going to be playing in this game. They're turning to freshman Matt Zoller. So again, it's going to be the Ahmed Hardy show, their star running back, and a freshman quarterback, and you're going to depend on that run game against this A&M team that held you to 68 yards rushing last year. And that's why I think we see this line going up, and that's why you see A&M a 7-point touchdown favorite on the road here. Again, it's because the freshman quarterback, Zoller, making the start for the Missouri Tigers.
All right. Really compelling argument there to keep backing A&M. Another couple of good games that we want to look at. Alabama hosting LSU. This is their first game, LSU, since Brian Kelly was dismissed. Bama opened up an 11.5-point favorite. This game has come down to 10. Bama comes in 7-1. Lucy 5-3. LSU just 1-4 against the number their last 5 games. They've gone under 12 of their last 18 games. Bama 5-1-1 against the number their last 7 games. Bama is 7-0 straight up their last 7 games, and they've gone over 5 of the last 6 times they played LSU.
Well, if there was ever a spoiler, a team that can ruin somebody's season, it's an LSU team that fires their coach, has
this is a rivalry. This is a big game.
A chance to go just absolutely destroy your season and play with absolutely no care in the world.
Right.
They have absolutely nothing to lose. They can go out there and play the spoiler role.
Meyer should be able to just...
We'll see if they... Again, you could also see a team that just has a little bit of quit in them and just wants the season to end.
I don't think they will. I think they're gonna circle the wagons a bit, and you know, being a double-digit underdog to Bama, and you came into the season with such high hopes. LSU was one of those teams that was expected to compete. Nesmeyer was expected to compete for the Heisman and be one of those top guys in the NFL draft next year. I think it's a circle the wagons type game, and I think that's why we've seen this number come down a bit. Another big game to look at, Oregon and Iowa. Oregon comes into this game 7-1. They've been as low as 4.5 in this game. They're now up to 6.5. They've gone under 4 of their last 6 games. They're 18-2 straight up their last 20 games. They're 10-0 straight up their last 10 games on the road. Iowa 5-1 against the number of their last 6 games. They've gone over 4 their last 6 games as well. Iowa 9-1 straight up in their last 10 games at home, and they're getting almost a touchdown here against Oregon.
Well, you're seeing that line come down. I'm lucky to get 5.5, 6 at this point in time with this lane coming down. And we all know Oregon, number 9 in the country, what they've done. Their lone loss is at home to Indiana. But the college football rankings are out. They're sitting there at that 9 spot in a really, really good spot. And this Oregon team has been what I'll call road warriors. I think that they've got a Dan Lanning kind of puts everything on his back and loves to travel with these Ducks on the road. They went to Northwestern, won by 20. We all know when they went to Penn State in the whiteout, won by 6 there. And their last game on the road, they went to Rutgers and won 56-10. So they like to put a show on the road. But this Iowa team is a sneaky team when we talk about Big Ten football. This team's number 20th in the college football ranking. They had an early season loss at Iowa State, 16-13. And I think it's about 3 weeks ago now, they lost to this Indiana Hoosier team 20-15 in a game that was tied 13-13 with 1 minute and 48 seconds to go. Indiana was able to score a 49-yard touchdown. So we talk about those high-powered offenses of Indiana and Oregon. Indiana only able to put up 20 points against this Iowa defense. This Iowa defense is very, very good. This is a very, very good spot for a number 20.
And they win ugly. They slow down the pace. They just win ugly.
Yeah, I mean, if they get down early, it could turn into an ugly game because Iowa's offense is not that good. But if they can grind this out, if this defense can fly around at Iowa, able to slow this Oregon offense down, you could see a shocker here. And this Iowa team, this becomes an elimination game. Essentially, you're ranked number 20 by the playoff committee. A loss here, and your season is over and done with. A win here over number 9 Oregon, and the way the things roll out, you could see this Iowa team find a way to sneak themselves into the college football playoff.
It's a really big game for them.
Big game for Iowa at home to take a stance and put themselves in that top 20.
A couple of other
top 12.
A couple of other good games in the college slate this week. We always want to touch on UNLV as well. UNLV is at Colorado State. Rebels come in at 6-2. They're a 5-point favorite in this game and opened up 6. Colorado is just 2-6, but we've seen some love from you guys so far on Colorado. The better's a bit. UNLV's gone over 4 their last 5 games. They're 11-2 straight up their last 13 games. However, they're 0-5 against the number their last 5 games against Colorado State, and they're 4-16 straight up their last 20 games against Colorado State. Colorado's also gone under 9 of their last 11 home games, which isn't UNLV's MO. They like to score, and score some more, but they give up a lot as well. Colorado State's been playing a lot of under games at home of late.
Well, we talked about this kind of ad nauseum of what this UNLV team has struggled to do, and we saw New Mexico, who has a very good offense, do exactly what we expected them to do, and that was be able to score on UNLV and almost be able to score on them at will. When you look at this Colorado State team, they are not what you would call a prolific offense.
Right.
You were talking about the unders, kind of speaks to Colorado State's struggles on offense. However, 3 weeks ago, we saw Air Force, who had basically no offense at that time, go into Allegiant Stadium, and their offense found itself, and they were able to score all these points. So the UNLV defense has not only made good offenses look great, but they've made bad offenses look good. And so that's what Colorado State is here. They're a bad offense that, the expectation is that UNLV can make your bad offense look good. A short amount of points here, though. UNLV, with all due respect to Colorado State, this is a short number, expecting Colorado State to really play
because of their defense,
above their heads.
Right.
And the reason of that is UNLV's fails on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, a couple of other good games to look at, too, just really quickly to touch on. I think you look at Nebraska at UCLA. UCLA opened up a 3-point favorite. They're now 1.5. Florida State at Clemson, 2 teams that are kind of major disappointments at this rate. Clemson opened up 2.5. They're now 2. And also one thing to touch on, Jay, last man standing. The Magnificent Seven. There was a Western called the Magnificent Seven. There are 7 of you guys left. 7 contestants left in last man standing. Tremendous job, you guys. Last year, I think it ended Thanksgiving week. We still have a few weeks until that time. But 7 of you guys left in last man standing.
Yeah, when we get down to 7, you talk about it going to half life, so maybe 3 or 4 next week, and then potentially a winner. But anything's possible in this world of handicapping and college football. So it is possible that at the end of this week, somebody finds themselves $100,000 richer in the college football last man standing.
Especially with the upsets we've seen, the parity that we've seen over the last few weeks. You get a week like last week where one of the teams is like a highly bet team like Georgia was, and they end up taking a knee at the one. It changes people's, the outcome of that contest pretty dramatically in a hurry. So anyway, some really good games this week on the college football schedule. We're going to jump right into pro football. And last week, maybe was our best week of the year so far. Those puppies were barking big time. You had the Vikings win outright. The Panthers went outright. The Steelers went outright. All big dogs. Usually we're hoping to get one, maybe two. We had 3 big dogs come in and 2 games that the overs were bet really heavily on. Bills, Chiefs. Then Monday night, you had the Commanders or Cowboys game, and both games went sailing under in that case. So, the Cardinals-Cowboys game. So a lot of good stuff for our side of the counter. But hey, we jumped right back into it this week. There's some big games, some big line moves, some big trades. But last week, Jay, the puppies were definitely barking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody expected the Vikings to go into Detroit after the way they had looked in their last couple games and shock the Lions there. And then the Panthers, who've been a respectable team at home, but on the road have not had a whole lot of luck to go.
I'm going to interrupt you once. I mean, you think about the Packers, though. They make the trade for Michael Parsons. They looked so good in that first game against Detroit, and everyone was kind of anointing them like they're going to be the team now, maybe with the Eagles in the NFC. They've got losses to the Browns, to the Panthers, and they probably should have lost to the Cowboys, who can't really beat anybody right now. So they're 5-2-1, but those losses net tied to the Cowboys is really bad. For some reason, to me, there's something off with the Packers offense.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse losing Tucker Kraft, their great tight end. Maybe Christian Watson can come back on the receiving side, get them going. But I think that Packers offense starts and stops with Josh Jacobs. When they're able to run the ball, play good defense, and run the football, that's when they're best. We did see them have a good second half against the Steelers on the Sunday night. But other than that, you've talked about it. They've been a really difficult team to handicap, and their losses to the Browns and now this week to the Panthers have been two of the good losses for the book. Because the Packers have been heavily backed. But a big upset by the Cardinals on Monday night, kind of a surprise to me. I was really thinking that this was Dallas's chance to put up a big win, get their bye week, maybe get some guys through the trade deadline. They play the Raiders here next Monday night, a game that should be able to win. But now I'm really questioning where the Cowboys go in their season. Obviously, the Commanders with the Jaden Daniels injury might have to take them off the teams in the NFC a chance to make the playoffs. So that playoff picture, getting a very small window to climb through in that playoff picture in the NFC, especially with the way Seattle and those teams out west are playing.
I think it makes the teams in the NFC North and the teams in the NFC West. There's 7 teams now that you may have 4 or 5 that actually make the playoffs between those 2 divisions. A couple of questions that came in we want to get in, and you touched on it. Is the Commanders a lost season? I have to think it is at this point. It's not only Jaden Daniels, it's Eckler, who's out for the year, McLaren, who had the holdout, and then he came back and has been injured again. It's Noah Brown, it's McCaffrey. There's so many guys in this team that have just been banged up and beat up, and at 3-6 right now, I think it is a lost season for the Commanders.
Yeah, I'll agree with you and write the Commanders off. I think that we had so hopes for Jaden Daniels and what he could do to this team. But again, I think this started in the preseason, and I wrote it in my memory bank that
you touched on the holdout.
Any holdouts, when you have top receivers, we've seen it for now 2, 3, almost 4 years in a row. When you have offensive weapons that are holdouts, they just don't come back to the lineup and get right. And not only that, it seems that there's always an injury involved. And that they didn't practice and play throughout the preseason. They get hurt early in the season, and their offense never seems to get going. And that's what happened to the Commanders this year, and it happened a little bit to the 49ers last year with the
happened
whole
to the Niners this year too,
situation. And so just something to think about. But again, I'm going to take the Commanders off the board from a team that's able to make the playoffs in the NFC.
Yeah, I think you have to at this point. Another question that came in is, has the pendulum swung? Are the Chiefs now behind the Bills, or the Bills kind of shifted? And I'm going to say no, just because the Bills have been so dominant against the Chiefs during the regular season. But it's the postseason where they really struggle. So it's a great win for them. Josh Allen had one of his best games of the year. On the flip side, Patrick Mahomes had one of his worst games of the year. If you just counted what happened during the regular season, Absolutely. But it doesn't matter what happens during the regular season. It matters what happens in the postseason. That's where the Bills have to beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and we still have the Chiefs as the favorite to win the Pro Football Championship, so no way that you can say that things have flipped. Obviously, it was a road game at Buffalo, a one-score game. But again, we talk about one-score football games in the NFL. What that means is essentially one pass interference, one holding call can make a difference in how these games go. So those teams are tight. It's going to make a difference in the playoffs. Potentially who has that home field advantage. But again, all these teams, I think at the top of the AFC, you're one or two plays, one or two big penalty calls away from the game script being a lot different for these teams.
Another question that came in is, was that a signature win for the Steelers? I'm going to say it was. You had back-to-back home games. You played the week before on prime time against the Green Bay Packers. You lost that game. You had a home game coming up against the Colts. Colts were the hottest team, the team with the best record in the AFC. You had to win that game because then you traveled out west to play the Chargers on prime time in LA. I think it was the best defensive game the Steelers have played this year. They created a number of turnovers. I think it was a must-win for the Steelers. It really helps them now in the AFC, both in the division and wild card. Steelers needed that game. It was a huge victory for them.
Well, we talked entirely about that last week, that this was a spot for the Steelers where you had to get the bounce back win. You could feel what was going on in Baltimore with getting Lamar Jackson back, and the schedule dictated that the Ravens can get back into this thing. They had lost the two bad games. You had this high-flying, overachieving Colts team coming into town, and they did exactly what you need to do to the Colts. And what we talked about all year long is the Colts have an absolutely fantastic team, and it comes down to Daniel Jones. Can he not turn the football over? He had a couple of those turnovers. Yep. Steelers were able to steal the game. Also, Colts head overseas this week to play the Falcons. So from a schedule standpoint, playing so well, doing so great, have to go to Pittsburgh, then have to go overseas. The schedule makers just didn't do them any favors in that spot. It really felt like a great spot for the Steelers. And we'll see if they can, from a Steelers standpoint, can they steamroll it again, because they have another very, very tough game against the Chargers this week. But again, it was a big win for them. But I'm not sold.
Maybe steamroll it again.
I'm not sold that the Steelers are a playoff team and Baltimore doesn't catch them. They have a lot of problems on the defensive side of the football, in the secondary. I don't know how long Aaron Rodgers can continue to do his magic here as we get to late in the season. They don't have much of a running game, which we know you're going to need come that playoff time. We'll see if they can hold off the Ravens, but I'm not sold on the Steelers just yet.
So another question that came is, are the Patriots for real? I think at this point they are. When you look at their record and how good they've played, Drake May's had a phenomenal year so far. They've been good on both sides of the ball. They have a signature win on prime time at Buffalo, which really helps right now. And I think you look at their schedule the rest of the way, it's one of the most favorable schedules in the entire league. So I'm going to say the Patriots, I'm buying in. I think Vrabel's done a great job there. Drake May has taken that next step. You've got some young wideouts that are playing really well, a good defense. I think the Patriots are a playoff team as of today.
Is that the question? Are they a playoff team? Because where they sit today, they definitely are a playoff team.
Well, I mean, are they somebody you still think will be there? Are they for real? Are they a team that can win a playoff game?
They are not going to win the Super Bowl.
That wasn't the question.
So if being for real means
actually 31 teams aren't going to win the Super Bowl.
You have a chance to win the Super Bowl. I'm gonna take the no on the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. They have been gifted a really, really nice schedule. They're playing good quality football.
They are.
Drake May has overachieved. They don't have what you would call a healthy running game, able to do it with a lot of guys, Douglas, Diggs, Henry in the passing game. But I think as we go down this path a little bit more, they're going to get upset in a game that they should have won, again, because they're overachieving. And I don't know when we start to talk about the AFC playoffs.
Well, they're going to get to host the Bills at some point still.
When we talk about the playoffs, I don't think that they're a team that can win 2 playoff games against top-tier AFC opponents.
Yeah, I think they've had a great season.
And they didn't do anything
far
here at the trade deadline as well to make themselves better. Much like we talk about this Colts team, again, overachieving, doing it with some mirrors here and there, but they realize where they're at, and they go all in.
Right, that's the next question.
Okay.
Trade deadline. What teams, and go ahead and chime in, what teams really helped themselves, or maybe someone who didn't make a move will hurt themselves, but the Indianapolis Colts.
I mean, you go get Sauce Gardner now. I know you're going to make the argument that Sauce Gardner hasn't been the Sauce Gardner that we
He hasn't the last 2 years.
That we thought
right.
he was his rookie year, but he's still Sauce Gardner, and getting him maybe out of New York, out of the losing situation. You go from a 1-7 team to a 7-2 team. Man, your spirits get lifted up. You're ready to play football for an organization that's going places, and they also give up 2 first rounds and a
they
first
give up
round
a lot.
wide receiver for you, telling you how they value you. You got to be excited for Sauce Gardner to go to the Colts. And the Colts, I mean, you're giving up a load to go get this guy, and that tells you you're in win mode right now.
You are in win mode right now. He still has the end of this year and 3 full years on that contract. But when you think of it, you play in the same conference with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. You play with some big-name quarterbacks. So to go out there and get a shutdown corner, which they perceive him to be, I think it's a move not just for today, but it's a move for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're thinking a whole lot about the future of giving up those draft picks.
I think you have to be.
And I think when you gave up those draft picks, you said that, what do you call him, Daniel Indiana Jones Dimes? I'm not sure how it...
Indiana Dimes.
Indiana Dimes. But he is now your quarterback of the future. But the fact that you gave up 2 first-round picks is essentially telling Danny Dimes, Indiana Jones, you're our guy, and we're going to build around you. And Jim Irsay is up in heaven, and they're banking that this is the year this Colts team is going to go do something special for this guy this year. And good luck to them. I like the move. I think you gave up a little bit too much, but I like the move and I like the aggressiveness. And I don't like the aggressiveness from the Patriots, who are in a similar situation. Maybe they're a year early. Maybe they're 2 years early.
I think that's the key, right?
They don't have a team but they didn't really go after it. They didn't add that piece. They didn't add another maybe wide receiver, a guy. Maybe it was Jacoby Myers. Maybe it was a Shaheed, somebody else that they could have added to that mix to give May another weapon. The Patriots didn't do that, and that was a team that could have made a move at the trade deadline to get better.
And the other team that really made the big splash was the Dallas Cowboys. We saw how poorly they played on Monday night against the Cardinals. They go out and they get Quentin Williams, they get Logan Wilson. So they tried to fill 2 of those holes on defense. But you've seen a piece of Swiss cheese before, right? There's not just 2 holes in it. There's like 6 holes in it. They only were able to solve 2 of those holes. So I know it's a Cowboy team that is explosive offensively. They've got a lot of weapons. They're an electric team. But this defense has just been bad. You look at Bland on Monday night. He got abused by Marvin Harrison. They just paid him $90 million for a $4 million for a 4-year contract. The defense, I don't think they have enough to go out, and they gave up a lot of assets to go out and get these guys. I'm just not sure it was enough to help the Cowboys. My favorite one was Shaheed. Shaheed being picked up by the Seattle Seahawks. Their defense has been tremendous. They've got a 2-headed monster at running back with Charbonnet and Kenny Walker. You've got JSN at wideout, but now you get that guy that can really stretch the field in Shaheed. He played for Clint Kubiak. He was the offensive coordinator with the Saints. He knows what he gets. He goes out and gets him. They get a complimentary piece now for Sam Darnold. I think Seattle is a scary good team that maybe right now is one of the best teams in football.
I'm going to go back to my Cowboys. I give the Cowboys an F at the trade deadline. Disappointed with the loss on Monday against the Cardinals. Again, not a team that we would say was a prolific offense. Again, able to move the football with Jacoby Brissett, who, by the way, should stay the Arizona Cardinals quarterback. We shouldn't see any more.
Coincidentally enough, Kyler Murray was just before we came on, but on the IL. So IR. Good. He's going to be out now for at least the next 4 weeks.
Good for the Cardinals. Good for Jacoby Brissett. But I give the Cowboys an F. I think you get Quentin Williams, good player, had some dominating years with the Jets. Hasn't had that in the last 2 or 3 years. Give up a number 1, a number 2, and another starting defensive tackle. I think the Cowboys gave up way too much, gave up so much more of their future with Parsons. I'm out on the Dallas Cowboys. I think it was a terrible move. I do applaud the New York Jets. Again, the 2025 New York Jets have quit. The 2026 New York Jets, I have no idea what it's going to be.
26 and 27, the Jets now have 5 first-round picks between the next 2 years. Coincidentally enough, the last team that had 3 number 1 picks in 1 year was the New York Jets. So they're rolling it back and trying it again. But they do have 3 number 1 picks coming up, followed by 2. So they can be that team going into next April's draft. They can move up and down the board, can kind of pick the guy they want. If there's a quarterback, other position players, even accumulate more assets. They're going to be the team that controls the draft in April.
Yeah, I'll golf clap the New York Jets for what they're going to get in 2026 and 2027. Kind of fleece they fleeced the Colts a little bit there and getting all those picks.
So too, right.
They fleeced the Cowboys a little bit in all those picks. It reminds me of what the Bears did to the Panthers a little bit with the number 1 pick and all the picks that they get. So again, I think the Jets did some good stuff. However, not going to help them in 2025. They are probably going to get their own number 1 draft pick because of what this team's going to do here at the back end of 2025. The one team that I really liked what they did the trade deadline, and it's not a big splash. You probably put it at the bottom of the trade stuff. But again, the Philadelphia Eagles go pick a couple pieces up. They get Jalen Phillips, the edge rusher from the Miami Dolphins. Again, not a superstar, but when he's healthy, he can be a wrecker there from the edge. Jair Alexander, who is a fantastic cornerback for the Packers, picked up by the Ravens. Actually a healthy scratch by the Ravens because he hasn't played well. The Eagles give up a 7th-round pick for Jair Alexander. See if they can find something there to help on the back end. And they also get Michael Carter, again, from the Jets. So the Eagles are adding some depth to that defensive backfield. Edge rusher, 2 cornerbacks. I like what the Eagles are doing, and I've said it probably
They're
5 or 6
always
times.
active at the deadline, though.
The Eagles, to me, have been playing possum here throughout the season, and when the playoffs come on, we're going to see this Philadelphia Eagles turn into last year's Philadelphia Eagles, and acquiring this depth tells me that Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles know that they're in this for the long haul.
Yeah, they most certainly are. There's no question. Every year they seem to be that team that knows the pieces they need and goes out and gets it. Before we jump into the key games this week, Magnificent 7, we talked about it in college football. It holds true in pro football as well. There are 7 contestants left in the pro football last man standing. So great job, you guys. It's going to be an interesting week this week. So we'll see how it all plays out. But 7 contestants left in both the college and pro football's last man standing. Let's jump into a couple of the key games this week we're going to look at for Week 10. We talked about the Patriots a little bit earlier. They come in at 7-2. They're playing at Tampa, that is 6-2. Both these teams are really, really good. They've played great this year. Total is 48 on this game. Kind of interesting, though, but with this number sitting around 2.5 industry-wide, I think it's telling you that the Patriots have arrived. There's a lot of respect for the way they're playing right now. Granted, Tampa's been really good. They've owned that division for the last 3 or 4 years, but they're beat up. They've got a lot of injuries. If it's Bucky Irving, if it's Chris Godwin, if it's Mike Evans, Ibuka's been a little bit banged up. So they have a lot of injuries there. It's probably one of the tougher games over the second half of the season the Patriots have to play. But this is a real gut check game for them. They go into Tampa and win. They've already gone into Buffalo and win. I think it's a Patriot team you can really start to take for real.
Yeah, and you talked about that line, the fact that Tampa's a 2.5-point favorite at home, kind of screaming that this is a competitive Patriots team. And again, I'm not sold on the Patriots. I think this is a very tough spot, especially the Patriots or the Buccaneers off their bye week. The one big question mark in this game is we were expecting Bucky Irving
to play, right,
after the bye week to be playing in this game. He still hasn't practiced as we sit here filming on Wednesday. So a big check mark to go check. Is Irving going to play, or will it be Rashard White again here? And obviously you talked about the wide receiver position with Godwin, Evans, Ibuka. Tampa, it doesn't matter. Baker Mayfield, whether it's Tez Johnson, Shepard, Baker Mayfield at home.
He finds a way.
He finds a way. For me, if they can find a healthy running game, Tampa is a very, very dangerous team and a team that plays with a magnificent chip on their shoulder, and I love to see the way they play, especially at home.
A couple of interesting betting trends here. Total's gone over 11 of New England's last 16 games. They're 6-0 straight up their last 6 games. They're 5-0 against the number the last 5 times they've played Tampa. Tampa 12-4 straight up their last 16 games. Tampa has gone under now 5 straight games. So we'll see what gives there.
I feel like it's 11
against New England.
I feel like it's 11:58, and Cinderella is on her way down to Tampa, and the magic's gonna run out here when she arrives in Tampa.
All right, another big game. Ravens-Vikings. Ravens are a 3.5-point road favorite here. Total is 49. You look at the Ravens, 3-5 right now, chasing the Steelers. They still will play them twice. Vikings, as Jay mentioned earlier, huge road win last week, beating the Lions. They come in 4-4. Baltimore 3-6 against the number of their last 9 games. They've gone over 7 of their last 9 games. Minnesota 13-6 straight up their last 19 games. They've gone over 5 straight games that they've played Baltimore, and they're 9-3 straight up at home their last 12 games. They're getting points here. I think you can see a lot of points scored in this game in Minnesota on Sunday.
Well, we saw what we'll call the bad Minnesota Vikings get lit up by Philadelphia and then the Chargers, and then take their bye week and then go to Detroit. And the good Minnesota Vikings showed up and were able to hold that Detroit Lions team down at home, which was incredible.
It was a huge win, right?
To stop Gibbs, stop Montgomery.
To me, it changed the complexion of their entire season.
Yeah, and maybe it was J.J. McCarthy, who is the savior. I've been poo-pooing J.J. McCarthy, thinking that he's the guy. Well, it started with Carson Wentz, that he was the reason why they couldn't win, and that McCarthy just didn't have the skill set to get it done. But maybe it just re-energized this whole team, and they knew that their backs were up against the wall, and that a loss there to Detroit, subsequently then playing the Ravens this week, that was their season on the line. So you see this, and the Ravens have actually gone up to even a 4.5-point favorite against this Vikings team, because we talk about the other team in the National Football League that we didn't expect to be in the situation that they're in is the Baltimore Ravens. And without Lamar Jackson for those several games, losing all those games in a row, they have the nice bounce-back win against a subpar Miami Dolphins team last week, and this is really the road test that's coming. So we'll see if the Vikings can shore up that defense on the back end. I think they will be able to move the football here a little bit. The running game got going again. Obviously, anytime you have Justin Jefferson on your team, you can have that big play capability. But the question mark is, can that Minnesota back end, can Frazier find a way to play defense the way he did this past week against the Lions, or is it the Vikings defense that played the Chargers and the Eagles show up? Because we talk about big play offenses, and the Ravens, despite King Henry in that running game, they're a big play offense. And when you let Lamar Jackson find that Bateman down the field, or Flowers down the field, or Mark Andrews underneath, they can have those big plays. So this game is all about that Vikings defense standing up, and that Vikings defense traditionally at home with the skull going on, they find a way to play. So this is that home dog that maybe you can take a look at.
Yeah, it's a really interesting matchup with those two teams that both need a win. Another game we'll look at is a big AFC West matchup, Rams at Niners. Rams are a 4-point road favorite. Rams come in 6-2. Niners come in 6-3. With all their injuries, though, Purdy still doesn't look to be back. We're not sure when he's going to be back. Rams 9-2 against the number their last 11 games. Frisco 6-3 straight up their last 9 games. San Francisco and the Rams have gone over 5 of their last 6 games when they've played each other. Kind of a gut check game, I think, a little bit for the Niners. If you can somehow win this game, I think it's huge. These two teams played a few weeks ago. We'll see what happens in this game, but a huge game for the Niners.
Yeah, it was a Thursday night
upset special
in LA. First week of October, Niners went down and upset them again with a banged up team that they've essentially had the all year long. Just shuffling guys in and out.
You might get some of the wideouts back, not Ayuk, but the Purdy's the big thing. I mean, we expected him back maybe 2 weeks ago. He's still not back yet, so there's a chance that maybe he plays here. He hasn't been ruled out, but as Jay talked about with Bucky Irving, Thursday and Friday of this week is going to be a huge practice week for a lot of these guys that have been out.
Yeah, the San Francisco 49ers are Christian McCaffrey and Christian McCaffrey. When Christian McCaffrey can run the football, or you can throw it to him and he can catch it 7 to 9 times a game, you've got a chance to stay in the football game. Sprinkle in Kittle, sprinkle in some of the other wide receivers there. Don't turn the football over. That Niners defense has been a bend but not break type defense. We saw the Giants able to move the football on them last week, but the Niners are just finding a way. And this Rams team, when they seem to be getting better, and they had a clunker in there every once in a while. Had the clunker in there the last time they played the Niners, but when you've got Puka Nacua on one side, Devontae Adams on the other side, Matthew Stafford throwing the ball, I don't think you're ever out of a football game. I mean, when these guys are running routes and finding holes, which they have a way to do, you're always in a football game when you're cheering for the Rams. They just need to find something on the defensive side of the football. They got the gift of playing the Saints last week. It's obviously everybody's easy survivor pick. With them being a 14-point favorite. So hopefully you didn't go down the route of trying to pick the Lions or pick the Packers when the Rams were sitting out there as the easy winner. And, of course, some of you did. You didn't take the easy winner. The Rams got there against the Saints. But, again, you talked about the Niners winning this the first time that they played. This would be a bad loss for the Rams if the Niners can go 2-0 against them. And, again, while we're continuing to watch this Seattle Seahawks team atop the division, one of these two Rams or Niners is going to get the loss. Maybe open
Seattle's
that hole.
on a bye, so
no, they play the Cardinals.
Oh, they play the Cardinals. That's what I'm sorry. Yep.
So the West is fighting for those three teams to get into the playoffs. Obviously, the Niners and Rams are somebody's going to get a loss here, but they're still going to be in the playoff picture with those other teams in the NFC chasing them down.
Now we're looking at two primetime games. You've got Steelers coming off that big home win against the Chargers. They're both 5-3. I think we kind of talk about it in the AFC. The team that loses here might be in a difficult spot moving forward. You come into this game, Chargers are a 3-point favorite. Total is 45.5. As I mentioned, big game for both teams. Chargers 9-4 straight up their last 13 games. They've gone over 8 of their last 10 games at home. Pittsburgh 4-1 against the number their last 5 games against the Chargers. I know it's only week 10, but I think they're both 5-3. It becomes a must-win, I think, for one of these two teams. Look at the Chargers. They lose Joe Alt now for the year, which I think really hurts on that offensive line. I was surprised they weren't more active at the trade deadline for a running back. There was a couple of names out there that I thought they could have gone to get. Huge game for both teams again. Both 5-3. Chargers 3-point home favorite against the Steelers.
Yeah, the Chargers did pick up Trevor Penning, an offensive tackle from the Saints. So they do make a move with Slater and all going off on that offensive line. Penning's a nice add for them. You talked about the injuries at the running back position. But this is a game, again, we watched Jordan Love just 2 weeks ago. I think he was 20 for 20 in picking apart that Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And Justin Herbert, with his wide receiver set of a McConkey, and Allen, a Quentin Johnson, this feels like one of those games that if Watt and that Steeler defensive front can't get pressure on Herbert, he's going to have a field day picking that back end apart. So for me, this game comes down to pressure from the Steelers defensive front, maybe able to get a turnover or two, and if they're not able to, watch Herbert enjoy probably a 350-yard passing game, picking that defensive secondary
Both
apart.
the Sunday and Monday night game are really good. I think the Monday night game is the marquee game of the week. You've got the Eagles traveling to the Packers. Both these teams have aspirations of playing in February. Packers are a very small 2-point home favorite here. This is a really interesting matchup. As I mentioned earlier, I don't think the Packers have been great of late. This is a chance for the Eagles to show everybody on prime time they still are the best team in the NFC, if not the best team in football. Numbers starting to come down just a bit industry-wide.
And again, we've talked about the seesaw year for the Packers, beating some good teams, looking absolutely fantastic, and then losing to some teams that they should clearly beat. So this is the flip side of playing a very competitive team.
Right.
This is where they found success. They're a 2.5-point home favorite, actually a 2-point favorite here at STN Sports. Eagles coming off their bye week. This is a game that they normally...
And the Packers coming off a really bad loss.
A terrible loss. And again, a Carolina team that moved the ball on them consistently, found the running game. We talked about the injury to Tucker Kraft. I personally, I know you as well, think that's a very, very big injury for the Packers. Musgrove will step in as a capable tight end. He's had some big-time games at that tight end position, but it's definitely a position that Jordan Love goes to in his fallback. And again, we talked about the lack of kind of that wide receiver to step up in that Packer wide receiver room. Dobbs has had some big games. We'll see if we can get it from Watson. Matthew Golden has not been the guy that they thought that they drafted out of the preseason to be that number one. But again, for me, I'll say it over and over again, Josh Jacobs is the guy that has to run the football for the Packers to stay in this game. I worry about it when we talk about you get that Micah Parsons, get that pressure on the quarterback. Micah Parsons didn't have any pressures on Bryce Young last week, and when you let Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley on the running side, Jalen Hurts on the running side, if you're not going to get pressure on Jalen Hurts, and now you're going to expect that secondary to cover Brown and Smith and Goddard, it just doesn't seem like a good fit for the Packers. So they're going to have to play their best game, which they've done in the past. But for me, this shapes up as the betting public betting the Eagles and looking the Eagles to cash on Monday night.
I think this game will come down as well. Really quick, don't forget, guys, this weekend we've got a 6:30 game from Germany coming up, an early start time. So all of our kiosks, STN Sports Mobile, and over the counter will be open. So get in here early for the drink specials and everything else going on at all of our racing sports books. So
one last thing I wanted to throw out: Golden Knights fans, Thursday night match of the day, 10% bonus on the Lightning at the Golden Knights. Friday, get to a college basketball showdown. Kansas, North Carolina, 10% match of the day. We talked about the Texas Tech BYU game. That'll be the match of the day on Saturday. And Sunday, you get a double header. You get that early morning 6:30 game. Colts, Falcons, you'll get 10% bonus on that. And then we talked about this big Rams-Niners game, 125 on Sunday. Take advantage of these match of the days. Get the STN Sports app, 10% bonus match of the day. Take advantage of it.
So a lot of cool stuff going on. So again, for Jason, I'm Chucky for the Sports Betting Podcast Bookends, powered by STN Sports. Good luck. We'll see you guys early here on Sunday, and we'll catch you next week on Bookends.